Well, that's the future of portable gaming. I'm telling you.
I mean, there's nothing more portable than something being in your brain.
Yeah. Instead of handheld, it would be called headheld.
Yeah.
No, it won't. I'm calling it. I'm calling it now. It's not
It
gonna
will not
happen.
catch on.
Brain held.
Stop making fetch happen.
Welcome to handheld technology with
Jeff Keeler.
Jeff Keighley and Mark Zuckerberg.
Welcome to the newest episode of Super Agile Brothers. I am your host. I can't do it. Hey guys, welcome. Come on in, sit down, join me at the fire here. This is a new episode of your favorite podcast, the Super Agile Brothers. With me, I have my two co-hosts. First, Bradston, why don't you cough up a hello?
Hey there, everybody. As you can see, we have Sir Count Dracula Glasses Stevie leading us starting us out strong. I appreciate it.
This man always has breath enough for one little zinger. And with us as well, we have the illustrious and the illustrating for a small fee, Kyle. Hello, Kyle.
Blah, blah, blah. How'd I do?
That's the canonical vampire response. Blah.
Is that vampirist to do that? You know what I'm saying?
I think I'm part
vampirist. Yeah,
blah,
that's
blah,
xenophobic
blah, blah.
or something.
How dare you, blah, blah, talk about my people like that, blah, blah, blah.
Blah.
I mean, it might be rude to like Eastern European, like, Transylvanians. Or whatever that accent is. I doubt that's an actual accent.
I would love to meet a person that uses blah as a part of their
like their common vernacular
instead of a, like hey, like
Blah.
What's up, my blah homie?
Blah.
What's blah with you?
We should ask. Oh wait, and I of course am Steve. AKA various other things that Bradson has called me in the past couple months. And yeah, we were just talking about Chat GPT before we started, and we were talking about vampires after we started, and here we are now.
Yes, blah. Chat GPT. Oh, I wonder what they I could ask Chat GPT if Transylvania, that accent is real, and what it would say.
You should start by asking if Transylvania is real. Are you sure that it's a real place?
Isn't that where Andrew Tate went?
Oh
no. Adam Sandler.
No.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah, he has a hotel that he runs.
Oh, Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
Got him.
He runs that.
You walked into that one, sir. No, Andrew Tate went to Romania, and there he will probably stay for a while.
He didn't just go there. He moved there permanently.
Yeah.
he ain't coming
He's
back.
been moved.
He ain't come back to wherever he was before that. That's his new home.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have followed that. He was like talking slight trash. He was like, yeah, I moved to Romania because law enforcement's kind of slack here. Like, you can get away with small... Not that I'm doing any crimes. Not that I'm doing anything illegal. But
you
know,
get
like,
away
you know...
with crime. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't small stuff either. Like, he was trying to harbor human beings.
Yeah.
He basically did
allegedly
the equivalent of rappers who rap about crimes that they committed. I caught him on the bus at 3:15 with 12 Glocks in his back. Yeah, that was me. like you going to jail, bro. You going to jail.
I think Key and Peele did a sketch about that.
Oh,
they
really?
did.
They do a sketch on everything. So.
It's very good.
That's right.
Hilarious.
Speaking of
man, it's all metaphor.
Speaking of catching people in the back, we haven't played Fortnite recently, but when we played, we were playing a little bit with our friend Dynamic, and I'm seeing here Discord is tattling. Apparently this man's playing Apex Legends right now. He already reverted. Didn't take long at all.
He just doesn't know that it's going to get shut down at the beginning of May.
Yeah. First the mobile game.
No, he's playing mobile. 100%.
Exclusively.
No way he's playing mobile.
he's like what do you call it? Emulating the mobile game.
He was gonna say he's emulating Android
on his device. People
mouse and keyboard.
Maybe that's why they're actually shutting it down, because everybody's playing with a mouse and keyboard anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the people who were murking me in the first week were 100% not just playing with a mobile device. Like,
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that does happen. I don't think that's why they'll shut it down. They were saying something about the quality or like the amount of content.
Developer, whoever they're contracting out, is probably doing a trash job.
Like, I've never heard of someone shutting a game down and mentioning the developer. So
it's calling them out.
That's for those who aren't,
so you know who to blame.
Are unaware. This is actually new, but I was sharing with the guys that Respawn announced that they're shutting down Apex Mobile on May 1st of this year. And as Kyle pointed out, that's not even a year. Like, Apex Mobile hasn't existed for a year, and they're shutting it down before they hit that year mark. So
it was so hyped when it came out too, man. Everybody was waiting for Apex Mobile because they had some pretty good marketing, and then it didn't look bad for a mobile game.
There you go. Thank you for saying that. For a mobile game, yeah.
You got to qualify it. You have to.
Yeah. I just can't imagine that's a good experience. People still play Fortnite on mobile, right?
Yeah. Children.
Yeah.
I mean, for some people, I think it's a accessibility thing. Like, this is the only console computer system that I have.
Very true.
I always see a kid playing it on their iPad in church.
Really?
No, not in church, dude. That's such a unfriendly...
sacrilegious? Sacrilegious?
I mean, it's mildly sacrilegious, I guess. But, like, there are some things that you could maybe argue you can get away with playing in church because it's, like, low energy, low attention. That is not one of them. That's a very, like...
I mean, if it's
I would be talking. I would be exclaiming out loud. Yeah, it's a child. I would be exclaiming. I couldn't do that quietly.
Yeah, luckily, he doesn't get too riled up. He's not that sweaty.
Yeah. I think children, from what I've noted about my niece and kids who might play with, like, iPads and stuff like that, they have an ability to be completely, like, in the zone and, like, completely quiet in a way that doesn't make sense. That's why, like,
just chill.
And I think, like, the next generation of children are going to have a very different experience with technology than we are. Like, how they're going to be, like you said, not as expressive. Like, it's just happening. It's like, Ready Player One. What's really happening is in the game. That's them, It's all internal.
Nah, everything's the same. Those kids are just different and weird. Everything's going to be just like I remember it in my childhood.
True. Go. What is it? Going to school uphill both ways during the snowstorm. Yeah.
The
Agile survive a pandemic.
Yeah. Somebody
You joke, but my elementary school was like biking distance from my house. I was never able to do it because my mother was very concerned that
a good
biking,
mother.
Yeah, not that she was overly concerned. She was very concerned. But yeah, I could have been biking uphill from school.
Both ways?
Just one way. It's a very steep hill, though, so it probably feel like both ways on the way back.
This man was about to say, I used to bike to school both ways. It was uphill. There's somebody who was telling me recently, like, I was at church, and one of the kids, I guess you could say, no longer kids, he's a man now, baby. He went off to college, and he came back for the break, and, just chatting with him. And one of the older gentlemen was just talking to me. He's like, yeah, look at him, man. He look good. He don't know about the struggle it used to be for us. First of all, this man is much older than me. But, like the struggle, I remember we didn't even have internet. I was like, I don't even know y'all had electricity. But,
did you even invent Benjamin Franklin back then?
I'm not going to play him like that. But he was just talking about how, like, man, they got it easy. They, we used to have to wait in line to get, register. And, we didn't have he said he had like a microwave in his room or something like that. And I think he was like, oh yeah, we didn't have no microwave in our room. We had to share it with everybody else. And I was like, it's so funny. Like, there's this tendency as you get older to be like, the kids have it so easy. It's like, nah, they just got it different, man. It's just different,
Different struggles. Stuff that was hard.
I would say objectively worse too. Definitely worse.
Wait, kids,
I'm glad
they have it worse now?
No, I'm saying things are worse. Like, the different in a worse way. I'm just being silly. How everyone's like, oh, back in my day, like the golden
good
age.
Old days. Good old days.
It's always better in the past.
I remember when the people who were supposed to be picking. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those situations where we
water fountains.
Nobody laughed. We just let you do that.
I was like,
I thought he was gonna take it.
I was like, I'm not gonna go too far. You can figure out what I was going with. Yeah, you said water fountains. I heard you. Kyle.
We all heard you.
You know, so hey, you know, I don't know. Our children will be. They won't have to go to school. They'll have Chat GPT, you know, on their wrist or something. You know,
education for what?
You know, they'll be true. What do you call that? Bionic? No. What do you call a person?
Cyborgs?
Yeah, bionic.
Cyborgs.
Sure.
Androids?
Not androids.
No.
Cyborgs.
Androids are robots that look like people.
And we still do a bad job of that in the world. Like, they still look like dead people. Androids.
It's crazy to think about because, well, not crazy. I'm introducing a new idea. It's crazy. Let me reintroduce this idea. I think the common thought is that the common fear is that as technology advances and things like ChatGPT become more popular and more viable, that, you know, well, let's take it back a few years, right? Like Google or Wikipedia as a research tool. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone was like, you got to learn how to do your own research. You got to do this and that. And yes, I do think that was important, but I think it's also important to learn how to use the tools that exist and learn how to survive in the world that actually we live in, not in some hypothetical world where the internet explodes and society crashes and I have to make my own car engine, you know, like, yeah, there's a balance there. And if Chat GPT and tools like it become more popular, like, I do think we need to teach people to think and research and make their own stuff and find their own things, but they should also be proficient with the tools at hand.
I don't think it's going to be any more damaging to how much research people do than Google is now. Like,
well, people thought Google would be. That's what I'm saying. You know, like how much I don't know anyone. I'm not in a PhD program, right? But I imagine that at some point people are probably reading a lot fewer books and making a lot fewer MLA note cards than they expected to based on elementary school.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reality is, even if somebody were to tell you that, say somebody in your professor says, I really want you all to use the old school, go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System and blah, blah, blah. They'll also expect you to have a paper written in a week, right? And maybe in the past, that paper would need to be written in 3 weeks, you know? So it's like, you can't judge me off of, you have to give me the same standard as somebody who had that type of technology, you know? It's like, it's a job. Like, you know, you get these interview process if you're in tech and you're a developer, they'll interview you like you don't have access to the internet on your job. And I'm like, okay, you're testing me to like remember things that at the end of the day aren't super relevant. Because guess what? If the internet is down, the application that I'm working on doesn't, like, if the internet disappears tomorrow, the application I'm working on doesn't exist either.
You know? It doesn't matter anymore.
So I can't push code.
Exactly.
I can't communicate with my coworkers.
Everything is down.
Yeah, like there's no situation where that's okay.
I've done one of those, a couple of those code tests before and even design tests, and they purposefully pull really obscure stuff that you've never needed to commit to memory. And I'd be okay with that if it was like in a way that evoked like your problem solving skills and stuff. Mm-hmm. But rarely is it. It's just more like, do you know the answer to this? And if you don't,
do you know the way?
Yeah, then something's wrong with you, type of thing. It's like, give me a problem to solve, maybe, that uses these obscure things, and see how close I can get, versus like a regurgitation of information I just simply don't have.
Yeah. And like, it's funny because one of my most popular technical articles I've ever written is called "Why I Stopped Interviewing with Companies That Require a Coding Test." And it's because people are like, yo, I am a senior 8-year developer who does all this stuff, and I can't get past entry level, you know, job, you know, applications because they want me to do some random tests where I gotta, oh, you need to know how to, I'm a cook at a restaurant. And they say, first things first, you need to know how to start a fire with just bramble and some twine. And you're like, bro.
Some flint.
My job is to cook.
We should do an episode about some tech industry stuff. Harken back to our early days of making fun of IBM. / fondly reminiscing about our very useful and excellent time at IBM. But in the meantime, we have another episode planned for today.
Do we?
Currently
we've touched on it. It's happening. You're here. We've touched on it a little bit. We were talking about the mobile Apex Legends experience and how should I put this? The viability of some games versus others in a portable way, in a portable form factor. That's a better way of saying that. So, keeping that in mind, I ask you boys, what are your favorite portable games, or your favorite games to play portably if there are options?
So I want to ask this first.
Okay.
What is the definition of
Ignore
portable?
me.
No, this is what y'all do to me when I pose questions.
No, I know. I'm messing with you.
I'm being Steve.
Definition of portable?
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
What is a game?
What is the definition of the?
Well, that's easy. It's an article that is referring to a specific object.
What is an
that
object?
Is the subject of a sentence. Oh, you're gonna play this with me? Okay.
Object undefined.
Oh no. Portable. I would say something that can be played on a handheld device, preferably, but maybe even just something that can be traveled with. Let's say that. A game that can be played either while in transit or less portably, can be taken, like transited somewhere else other than like your home to play it. So like, you play a game on your laptop, that's a little less portable than playing a game on your phone, because you can't really, at least long term, you can't really use a laptop, say on a train. And there's ins and outs, right? Like, on a train, you can't be blasting music, whereas, so you would need headphones or something like that. So,
and it's infinitely more portable than your desktop PC.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you could say the game is more portable based on how much you can. What's the word I'm looking for? What do you call it when you have? How much you can compromise in the experience compared to, say, like a living room console experience or a desktop PC experience. How much you can compromise that in order to play it not in your house.
So a good way to put it is a video gaming experience that can be played or experienced without having to be, at home,
stationary,
or
at your home
or
base,
connected to a an outlet at some place, right?
Well, I don't think you have to specify outlet,
I think that's the best way to think of portable or more mobile, is that you don't have to be next to an outlet to play it. Like, it doesn't have to get plugged into.
No wires.
No wires.
But
it can essentially.
I would say that if you can bring your laptop or iPad or something to a coffee shop and plug it in there and play, I still think you're being portable.
Well, then
it's just
pretty much.
I agree that
games
it's less
portable
because you can't. What?
Then every game is portable if it's on Steam.
I think the differentiator is that those don't require you to plug them in to play.
Yeah, every game is portable because the platforms are portable. But we're talking about the gaming experience itself. Is the game still good in a portable setting? Not can the game be played? Because pretty much any game can be played anywhere at this point.
Well, I think that I personally think we need to specify more and say that non-laptop or console game-based systems that, like non-laptop or computer games, PC direct.
I don't think we need to specify. I think portability has has variations and shades. So like, let me give you an example. All right. I just finished playing Black Mesa on PC, and I played it with a mouse and keyboard, and it was great. I had it at high frame rate, nice big monitor in front of me, really cool. That game, I could play it on my laptop. Well, I don't know how well it would run on my laptop. I guess that's part of the problem, actually. I could play it on my laptop, but because my laptop is not as powerful as my PC, it wouldn't perform as well. Because my laptop is the screen is smaller than my monitor, it wouldn't look as good. Because I'd be playing with a touchpad or, like, you know, at best a plug-in mouse, it wouldn't control as well. Like you said, it's like the game wouldn't be as fun. And every game has to go through those compromises, but some games would still be okay. Like, there are other games I would play like that because those compromises don't mean as much. So it's more portable.
Right? For me, I think like the connotation usually when somebody is talking about, and maybe this is on the console side, but portability is usually like synonymous, or a portable gaming experience is usually synonymous with like handheld. You know, so I think a laptop would fall out of that. And I think that's also the reason why like a Steam Deck was made, even though laptops do exist, is because there's still that gap between a laptop, which, you know, is portable, but isn't a handheld experience like a Steam Deck is.
I fully agree, except I would just say that the handheld experience is it's just more portable than something like a laptop. And because it's more portable, it has more compromises. Or, I mean, with the Steam Deck, maybe it has fewer compromises. The Steam Deck might be more powerful than my laptop. So it might be better to play on a Steam Deck.
They're pretty beefy from what I hear.
Can we specify this conversation? Because to me, like, this is where, I mean, I'm open to Pandora's box, but to me, this conversation becomes somewhat moot because I'm like, hey, if I have a portable generator and I have, you know, a TV with me, then everything's portable. You know, I can go glamping and I can play my PS5.
But those are compromises. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's everything is shades. If you got to bring all that stuff, you got to bring all that stuff with you. Well, if you got to do all that to enjoy your game, I say your game suffers from not being as portable.
I mean, to you, but if I have a giant, you know, H3 Hummer that's decked out by Exhibit, everything, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
heard you like generators.
You know, I heard you like generators. No, generators.
Okay, let's say this. Let's say, what are the games that you think perform what are the games that you think are either as fun or even more fun in their not portable setting, you know, playing on your console, playing on your computer, compared to a portable setting, whatever that means to you. So if that means on a handheld, if that means in a laptop, like, what are the games that you think squeeze into a more compromising portable position best? I feel like that's pretty well-defined question.
Can you answer it first?
I asked the question.
I mean, I would love for you to answer this question because to me, I'm just like all of them. To me, if we're saying handheld, that's a whole different conversation.
Let's say handheld. Fine. If that's what it takes.
Okay. So yeah, that means no home consoles or PCs. Okay. Yeah. Or PC based games. And
Steam Deck still exists.
And what was your question one more time?
What games would you say are your favorite games to play portably compared to not portably? Which games are like the most accessible in a portable form factor? How's that?
Like a game type or
specific?
So what game do I enjoy the most on a handheld device?
If I told you that that we're going to be on a 10-hour airplane ride, what games do you expect you're going to play on that airplane ride?
So I'm going to answer this question, and it'll probably open up other things, but I think for me, handheld gaming, in general, the portable portion of it, to me varies on the circumstance heavily. Like if I'm going to travel, I honestly don't like playing games that take a lot of thought or consideration. So I'm going to probably play like small games, like mobile games. Oh, fill the tubes with the same color sand or something. Or I'm going to play some type
Super
of
simple.
like word,
like low intensity games.
Yeah, word puzzle game like Cody Cross or, Sudoku. Something that just kind of like keeps my mind active, but it's low, I don't want to say low effort, but low commitment. So when I need to move on the plane, or if, the gate changed, or I want something that I can just pick up and play.
You only have to pay half attention to.
Yeah. And then also when I'm on planes, it's always a back and forth between if I'm going to be awake, like.
Sure.
That's a fair point.
Let's assume you're awake to this question.
And for me, I used to travel a lot when I worked at IBM from a contract consulting standpoint. And now when I travel, it's for work. And if I'm traveling for leisure, it's normally with other people. So I tend to, talk with them or sleep, or if it's a long distance, watch the movie on the plane. So if I'm traveling like that, it's going to be something. Yeah, if it's traveling, I'm going to pick really simple games.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. I'd
so
say I'm
nothing
in
in
the same
particular,
boat.
but simple games.
I used to travel like with, my handheld console of choice, whether it be my DS or even lately my Switch. But I actually did bring, soon after I got my Switch, I went on a plane to Hawaii, and I brought it. And I don't know, something about the Switch, just handheld at home, even, it just gives me a headache looking at that screen. And I brought it on the plane and think, just to try it out. And I was playing Baba Is You, which is a very low intensity game.
Yeah.
The colors are really vibrant. I like to find a game when I'm traveling that is something that feels like in the same vein as turn-based, to where every time I make a move, the game effectively pauses, so that if it feels what Brad was talking about a second ago, where if something happens where my attention needs to be taken away, which happens a lot, I guess, ish, like when somebody's coming down the aisle with the cart or something, and and so I wasn't playing anything like Breath of the Wild where, getting stuck in fights or something will jump out at me. And so, I've transitioned away from using my Switch because of the headaches to more, I got to this habit to where when I know a trip is coming up, I'll delete a bunch of apps off my phone and go to the app store and download like half a dozen random apps and not open them past the menu until I get on the plane.
You just explore them on the plane.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Come what may.
Yeah, most of them are usually trash.
And I want to say this is super random, but I figured out that there's some of these really low intensity games are actually better experiences on airplanes, because I'm forced to use airplane mode, and some of the games fundamentally no ads with airplane mode. And there's a game that I'll never play unless I'm on an airplane, because the ads are so egregious that
they're aggressive, man.
The game is so unplayable. But it's such a joy on a plane.
It's so true. Voodoo's games. Because some of their games they kind of scratch the same itch as like Mario Party mini games. So you can get a good 10 minutes of fun out of them on a plane, where it'd be stretched to over an hour because you have to wait between ads at home.
So, not to mess up your vibe and your game schedule. But if the things that you're doing on your phone are like untenable because of the ads, might I suggest installing AdGuard? Especially if you have an Android phone. I doubt that it works for iPhones, of course, but anyway, totally unrelated to the topic at hand, but
not sponsored.
Boon, not sponsored. I don't even think it's paid, so like they don't get anything by you downloading it. But actually, there probably is like an unlocked version. But I do a lot of Duolingo with my wife, and she's always complaining about the ads, and I just forgot they had ads because AdGuard.
Really? Duolingo? I've been using it recently, doing doing Japanese.
I gotta learn some Japanese.
I'm learning me some Japanese. Nihongo Nashimasu. And yeah, the ads are, to me personally, they're not that egregious. They're actually pretty reasonable, especially since I'm not paying any money. Reasonable. I'm like, yeah, that's how you got to make your money. Like, I'm not mad. Like, so anyway.
Yeah, I doubt they're as egregious as those games you're playing, but I assume that the solution to one will also work. Okay, so you guys play mobile games. That's really interesting. I don't play mobile games. I always bring my Switch on like planes or something. But I do agree that I try to play games where reaction time is not a factor. So like in Pokemon, I think I was just going through my head thinking of the games I own. Pokemon would probably be good as an airplane game because it doesn't look good anyway. So it's fine that it's a small screen. It doesn't have fancy controls or anything going on really, like complex mechanics, complex like reaction time, combat, or anything like that. It's all turn-based. I think Baba Is You would be great.
It was very good.
Yeah. I think any game, I mentioned graphics. I do think that graphics are a big thing for me. And if a game is supposed to be like an experience, then I want it to be that. And I want it to be on a big screen. And specific to airplanes, I want to be able to hear it well without engine drones in the background. But there are some games that I have that, they have charming graphics. I don't think they look bad, except Pokemon. But I also wouldn't care that much if they were shrunk down on a small screen, or maybe if I couldn't hear the music so good. So things like Katana Zero, which is not a slow game. It's a very much like action game, but I still enjoy it on handheld mode. I don't bring laptops. I mentioned laptops a lot in my explanation, but I don't really game on my laptop. I don't think the compromises are ever worth it for PC games.
Ooh, I have brought my laptop to do game development on a plane before. That's pretty good.
Sure. That's, yeah. So I guess you're playing your game while you're developing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the Switch. I have a Switch, and I think I've tried to play the Switch once on a plane, and I was like, nah, I'm good. The only way that I'll play a Switch when portably is when I'm like at a location. Like if I'm in a hotel, like for example, I travel for work, and hey, I'll call the wifey. Hey, how you doing today? And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna call it a night and chill out. Then I'll pull out my Switch and play like some Stardew or something like that. Like, but it's like when I'm sitting in my hotel room and I don't want to watch the random TV shows they have, right? Like that's normally when my Switch comes out, or if I'm at my sister or my parents or wherever, like I'll pull my Switch out as we're chilling and watching TV. But interestingly enough, I don't really play my Switch at home unless me and the wifey are going to play a game together on the Switch. Or unless I'm playing Pokemon Unite. Yeah.
Hey.
So never. So to me, I feel like portable, like I think if the form factor was smaller, I might play them more often. But I think
really you want a smaller Switch.
Yeah, like I was a kid, so it's hard to compare to me being an adult now, but I think I always enjoyed the put it in my pocket, pull it out of my pocket. The Game Boy, even the Advance, I could still put in my pocket, and pull it out. But once the Switch just is a little bit too big for me and cumbersome, and I got to pull it out, and like, oh, now I got to balance it, and I got to put my elbows on a thing, or otherwise I got to like find an angle. I just want something that there's, my phone I can just hold, I could even lay my phone on any surface, and tap it. But I just feel like when I play my Switch, and if I had a Steam Deck, I've held it before, it would have to be in a very like, I have to get comfortable, sit down, and be ready, so. Yeah.
It's about as cumbersome as a laptop in a lot of ways.
What's the Switch or the Steam Deck?
I would say both. Just like, I guess the bigger handhelds. Because at least for my Switch, I have a whole case for it, and then like Brad was saying, it's definitely not a pocket device. So, like, it feels like in the same realm, I guess, as an iPad, just because it's got that larger screen. It is heavier, so it's almost as inconvenient. If you're, I mean, unless you just really, a comparative to like a Game Boy for sure.
That's a good point. I'm thinking about it, and like every time I play my Switch, I have to settle somewhere. Like, I'll play it on the airplane, but there's the whole process. I unpack, I open my bag, I pull out the case, I open the case, find a place to put the case, in my lap or, off to the side somewhere where it's not going to like fall off a chair and get lost. Pull out my earbuds, plug them in so I can hear what I'm doing. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And I can't just slip it in my pocket when it's time to board or something. I have to like pack it all up and put it back in my bag.
Yeah, and you just reminded me of something. I didn't think about this, but I think this is innate to even how I process portable gaming or, handheld gaming. Is that you kind of mentioned that idea of like, hey, if you're doing a portable experience, like say I did bring my, my PS5 out into the wilderness to go glamping, right? There'd be a compromised experience, right? In some capacity, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can't bring an 85-inch. I don't have an 85-inch TV, but I can't bring a big old TV, Have to be smaller.
Imagine playing a Switch game on an 85-inch TV.
In the wilderness.
You can see every pixel from across the
tearing.
room.
It would look,
I mean,
it would be terrible.
PS5 or whatever. But the thing that the
I
Switch brings to the table is, though it's not the fidelity of a PS5, it still brings some pretty decent graphics in a handheld capacity, similar with the Steam Deck, probably to the next level, right?
Depending on the game, yeah.
But I think what's interesting about that is that these systems are not ruggedized. And like,
true.
Like, I felt super comfortable bringing my Game Boy Advance everywhere. Like, it didn't matter what was happening. I could be on a roller coaster. Well, I didn't put it in my pocket in a roller coaster, but I would feel comfortable even there. I felt, oh, we're going to the water park. Let me throw it in the bag. Like I felt really good about how and where and when, and why I would operate with it, because it was semi-ruggedized, not waterproof. Yeah. These systems just feel fragile. Like I think about it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to drop my Switch ever, ever. Like,
yeah.
And
yeah, and I was saying earlier, like I had to put it in the case and take it out of the case every time I handle it because I can't just put it in the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's, to me, like even my PSP, I had a PSP. I liked it a lot. I think it was more ruggedized than the Switch, but it was like the furthest I felt comfortable going, taking it everywhere. Like it was small enough form factor that I had a little case that was real simple. I could put it in my pocket. It would be a giant bulge, but I could pull it out anywhere and I felt pretty comfortable. But at the same time, I always feared dropping it. But yeah, nowadays I'm like, I'm definitely not bringing my Switch anywhere where there's any fear.
And the issue of durability has kind of plagued even the phones too. Because I remember we used to make the jokes about Nokias. And like there was what was it? The Engage or something? There was a phone that was trying to be a handheld console.
Yeah, Engage. Yeah, I remember that.
Even that thing was more durable. Like, yeah, you could throw those things, drop them, get them wet. And yeah, like even if you're doing, I mean, we have nicer screens now, sure, on the iPhones and the Androids. But at what cost?
I think phones are pretty rugged.
I think,
especially if you put a pretty basic case on it.
I think there's
my phone always cracks immediately.
Oh,
really?
Really?
Yes. It hadn't happened till recently. I feel like maybe I'm getting less careful. I don't know.
Yeah, you're becoming clumsier with age.
Hey, leave me alone.
Yeah, I don't think I've cracked a phone since who knows. Once I started getting outer boxes, like
okay, I don't have an outer box.
Yeah, outer boxes are like the best thing ever. Like every phone I get, the first time I buy it, I always buy my phone full out, straight cash, and then I buy an outer box same time. And then basically I keep the same phone for like 3-4 years, 5 years, or until it like literally dies. But yeah, so but I feel like phones are, like you said, Steve, are closer to the ruggedized because you have an option, but you don't get a ruggedized Switch, really, can you?
Yeah, I mean, in the same way you can get like a protective case.
Yeah. Although the case would probably interfere with putting the Joy-Cons on and off.
Yeah.
Which is what I was about to say. So I have 2 pairs of Joy-Con. One is the pair that came with my Switch, and one is a pair that I got from IBM. I don't know why IBM keeps coming up in this episode.
Just to get some smoke with IBM.
But I got some they have their employee point system, and I had some points and I spent it on their store. And I got some Joy-Cons. So the issue is when you put the Joy-Cons on the Switch, they have like a little plastic thing that clicks into place and keeps them from flying off again. Both of the old Joy-Cons, the ones that came with the system, the OGs, that switch is broken, and so that little plastic bit has either worn off or broken off with time. And so my Joy-Cons with very little force will come off the Switch. So I feel like I can't put them anywhere because, like in a bag, because whatever pressure moving around in the bag would make them come off. Which might not be the end of the world, but in some situations might be really bad. On the same token, I don't want to use my new Joy-Cons and put them in the bag with a Switch because I'm afraid that the stresses and forces will cause those little plastic nubs to wear down faster.
They'll meet the same fate.
So I'm like, what can I do? I was going to say this earlier, some might argue that the answer to your problem, Bradston, is the Switch Lite, which is a one-piece unit. It's for kids. It's more rugged. I will not argue that because I think the Switch Lite is stupid. But it does meet that one criteria of being a little more rugged.
It is. It's more durable. It feels more like a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And that's both in that it feels cheaper and it is lighter.
Yeah.
But
there's significant. Speaking of compromises, that comes with significant compromises. I don't think anyone.
If I could fold my Switch in half, like one of those new folding.
Oh, you can.
Yes, you can. You can fold pretty much anything. You can fold people in half.
You can fold it.
Ask Yujiro Hama. He's all about that. But what I would say is, like, if I could fold my Switch in half, like, so I could close the screen on the screen, you know, like you've seen those phones, right? The Flex.
Yeah, like the 3DS did that.
Samsung phones.
Yeah, the 3DS. Similar. I feel like I'd feel so much more comfortable with it. Just knowing that, okay, cool, the screen is protected. And then you mentioned, Steve, the controllers, which is a whole nother delicate process of I don't want to be smashing the nubs and then all of a sudden cause a drift or
drift and dust in your controller.
You know what I'm saying? So you have this, you know, it's just too much work sometimes. So yeah, I'll always bring it with me when I travel, but yeah, I'm always probably going to play my phone if I'm going to play a game.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Personally, I can't abide phone games. I mean,
you don't have an
iPhone. Let me rephrase that. I probably could learn to enjoy, you know, some Sudoku or something, or some filling tubes with sand games. Because I have the hardware, I want to enjoy it. I want to play games on my Switch when I have time. But as I just admitted, at least part of that is just because I have it and there's some compulsion there to use it
to fulfill.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about portability and the sense of like compromises to the gaming experience. But there was something else that I think is really important that makes a game more portable. And that is like the way that games are designed with session length in mind. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like Nintendo did this pretty well at the beginning of the Switch's life cycle, where a lot of the games that came out felt like they could probably be played easily in small chunks. And like you don't even have to pause the game. You can just put it in standby and carefully, you know, well, I'll say put it in your pocket for the sake of argument, but we know that's not what's happening. Whereas other games are maybe less amenable to that and demand more attention for longer periods of time. Do you guys have any examples or anything in mind that meets that?
Yeah,
I definitely think that's a cornerstone of like handheld games. To be digestible in those chunks. I think that's why mobile games usually do so well too, is because most of them have a very quick gameplay loop that you can pick up really quick. I haven't actually played. So when you say Switch games, that later Switch games that haven't really adhered to that standard, which ones are you referring to?
I didn't say that. I said that I guess I implied that. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can think of any games that are like, oh, I could never play this mobile. I just know that there were a lot of games that felt good at the beginning. Not that there aren't games that feel good now.
Okay.
I just stopped paying attention at some point. Is what I meant to communicate.
Interestingly enough, like to me, I feel like the mobile game, like let's take the Switch. The games that work well on the Switch are one. I think it's because there's some technical limitations, right? So the game itself can't be as involved as a PS5 game. So I think the commitment level to any particular experience on the Switch seems to be a little bit lower than what I would experience on a PS5 or Xbox.
By necessity?
Just by necessity. And I think that's actually why I really liked my 3DS back in the day, because I felt like the games just simply had to be more simple. And because they had to be more simple, the game design was a lot more clear.
Innovative.
Like approachable. And I think that some of the games that I don't really vibe with the most on my Switch are the games that are a little bit deeper. But I think one thing that gaming systems have now that they didn't have in the past is the ability to basically like just press the power button and your state is pretty much, it's not a true save state, but it's like,
the standby,
right? When I come
as long
back,
as the battery doesn't die, it might as well be paused.
Yeah, right. And to me, that's been the game changer for me in enjoying the experiences with mobile games, because I know that like, oh, cool, I'm playing, and then the wife goes, hey, we're about to have dinner. Cool, I can just press the power button, and oops, I didn't play for 3 weeks. And I came back, and I'm literally in the same point.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that is important. That is important. I feel like that's pretty common these days. Obviously, phones have had that for a long time. But, I mean, didn't Game Boys allow that for at least the last two?
No.
Like, haven't 3DSs allowed that?
3DSs did, yeah.
3DS, you could. But the
original DS did too.
Yeah, the problem with those was that like if your power died,
the battery life didn't really.
Oh, the battery
make
life
it worth it.
It wasn't as reliable like a Switch. My Switch has died, but like, I can't turn it on. But I wasn't concerned about my game. Like, it still preserves the state,
even when it dies, that's true.
Yeah. Wait, does it? I don't think so.
Oh, it sure does. My Switch dies all the time.
Mine too. I usually
it dies, and then when you turn it on, when you charge it and boot it and open the game, it's still right where you left it.
Yep. Mario Kart is always, because Mario Kart's usually the last game I play where I just power it down, put it in standby, and then forget and unplug it like a week later.
Yeah.
And then I turn it back on to play Mario Kart, and it's still in that same menu where I was about to pick another Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. Like, I don't know what to say. I never had that. Every time my Switch turns off, it's as if I closed the game out.
I mean, I 100% can confirm that this is also true, because I don't play my Switch very often, and there are literally months where I don't have it plugged in, and it'll be just dead. Like, just straight up, I press the button, the little symbol comes up, it's dead, or doesn't do anything. And then I come back, and I play a lot of strategy games, and sometimes I stop in the middle of a fight, and I'm like,
so you would definitely know.
So I come back in, and I'm in the middle of a battle.
You're still in the middle of a battle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I assume there's this point where the battery might die to a point where like your is dead. But I wonder how long that would take. That's a whole nother question. Like,
I don't even know if I've ever tested this. I think I just assumed that what I'm describing is the actual behavior, but maybe it's not. Maybe I was just always very careful and closed my games out when I wasn't playing.
Yeah, I pretty much
I know
never
for
close
sure
my
I'm
games ever.
I gotta test it. Where's my Switch?
He's gonna do it now, live on.
No,
I don't know how you'd have to drain the battery. Could you even drain it?
I would. Yeah, I'll have to purposefully let it drain.
Yeah, just start a game, put it in the middle of a session, any moment in the game, then turn the power off and just let it die. It'll be fine.
Open an arena.
Now, I think a network game, you're done. But
yeah,
but
kill.
a
Well, I meant to kill the battery, but
definitely not
then
a
you wouldn't
connected
be
game.
able to. You'd have to jump out right as your battery died to a different game, or I guess to a solo match.
All right, I'll test this out and I'll get back to everybody on our findings. Hey, if that's what's going on, then the Switch is a better performer than I thought it was, because I just assumed that if your battery died, you were donezo.
No, they're very graceful for this.
Nintendo, man, they got the handheld game on lock.
Yeah,
I don't even know how they're doing that. They would have to be saving like the RAM, like basically hibernate. That's what that is hibernating.
Mm-hmm.
But that would imply that they have storage on hand to like save the RAM state. But the Switch is famously short on storage.
Well, my assumption is that whenever the battery is low, it's not actually low. It's like the true battery gauge is like 120% to 20%. And then once it hits 20%, it goes into like, what do you call it? Battery performance mode or whatever.
Yeah,
and it just shuts
saver.
down all networking and all import other things other than just completely keeping the state as it is.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're seeing a boot menu, they're either lying or it's booting from a cold boot.
I don't even know what a boot menu looks like other than the...
If you see the Nintendo symbol when you push the power button, that's...
Well, that's the thing.
That when it's dead, you don't.
When the battery dies, you don't go to... Like, you don't see it like the first time you turn it on. It just comes to that screen where it says press a button and you tap a button 3 times to start your experience. Like
after it's plugged in for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what it would like. I assume if it literally died.
I'll look into this. I'm going to look into this. Okay. We're totally off track. We're talking about game mechanics that lend themselves to portability. We were talking about interruptions, right? Was there anything else that you guys think are taking, maybe a specific game that you've found that takes interruptions well?
See, I feel like I just have a very different experience than when I was a kid versus now. Like,
sure.
When I was a kid, I was playing Pokemon and I was playing Advance Wars and I was playing, Aladdin and stuff like that. And for example, Aladdin wasn't very forgiving. Like if you died, you start all the way over. But I would play them for 30 minutes to an hour at a time. And it was low commitment, but like high skill. Pokemon, I just saved, save points for pretty much everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then like any other game, Advance Wars, the sessions were like 15 to 20 minutes unless you were in maybe 5 to 10 unless you were in a really intense battle. So to me, I just feel like we were talking before, any mechanic that's digestible, like I think, like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a particular mechanic that's best for mobile. For mobile.
I think there are. I think that, you mentioned Advanced Wars. I don't really know what the gameplay in that game looks like actually, but if there's some sort of
it's a tactical
the way I think of it is like, when I was a kid, my mom would come in and be like, get off the game, and I'd be like, Mom, let me get to a stopping point. And usually, that's an emergency, so a stopping point becomes the first chance I get to save, right? So she doesn't kick me off. But in an ideal scenario, a stopping point, like, all right, let me stop playing and like focus on something else. Like I'm satisfied with my play session. A stopping point would be, after I finish some goal, or there's like the pacing changes, there's like a lull maybe if there was like a high stakes scenario, maybe when that scenario ends in the story, right? Like something that feels good, like the end of an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Some games, I feel like that happens a lot. Like, there's not really a point where it would feel bad to stop playing. You're just like, oh, I'll just save now and quit. No big deal.
Yeah.
Or I won't save. I'll just put it in standby mode and quit and come back later, regardless.
Yeah, I definitely agree with. I think it does feel better to have something come to some sort of conclusion, because then it doesn't feel like you wasted your time. And you just kind of like it leaves me on edge when I get distracted on a game where I know I'm working towards something specific, even if I'm not really close to it. I just know that's especially if I was going to plan to stop there anyway. But then it's like, now I got to go off and do something in this next 15 minutes where I was going to stop anyway, type of thing. So I definitely feel that.
So have either of y'all played a portable gaming system that's not a Nintendo system, not including your phone?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So you've had what systems have you had, Kyle?
I didn't own them, but I've played PSP pretty good bit. And
so do you ever have them for an extended period of time, like a month or two, like where you got to play it solely, like not just playing with friends for a few?
No.
How about you, Steve?
Never owned a PSP.
No, I don't think so. I would say maybe my laptop, but I didn't usually play my laptop, quote unquote, portably. I would play it plugged in, at my house or something.
Okay. Do those crappy dollar store handhelds count?
Those like 1 in 100 game kind of situation.
Yeah.
I guess technically,
I had tons of those growing up.
Those definitely are like short session games. The reason I ask is because as we were talking, I realized, I think there's a thing that my experience is a little bit different because Nintendo basically owns this field, right? Like they are the standard. And essentially what Nintendo does is basically what everybody else does. But I've owned a PSP. Like that's what I had it for a very long time. I've played, a friend has let me borrow their like, what do you call it? Game Gear for a little bit. But, I wouldn't say that I feel very comfortable about the experience of the Game Gear to speak on it, but I've played it, enough, a decent, kind of like
you've seen it.
But I would say like the PSP experience versus like the Nintendo experience is very different in my opinion, because I think what the PSP struggled with is that they didn't have the Nintendo formula, where basically all Nintendo games are kind of built to be digestible. But like, they're putting on there like Last of Us,
Yeah, they treated the PSP like it was a PS2. Like it had at least some of the Grand Theft Autos. I don't know if all of them. And then Jack and Daxter had some games on there. Ratchet and Clank, I think, had like pretty much every game that was getting a major console release. Either it was on the PSP too, or they had like some sort of spin-off that was arguably as decent, but on the PSP. Graphically, even the 3DS couldn't hold a candle next to the PSP, in my opinion.
And the games were very in depth, but it was still a good experience. It was just you had to go into it a little bit differently than if I was going to play my 3DS, Yeah. So to me, that's what I was saying before. Like, I feel like any game could be mobile because the PSP kind of taught me, I could play a full. It's not as good of an experience as playing on my TV, but I still really enjoyed it. If it was Guitar Man, which I've talked about, if it was, what's it called? Siphon Filter. If it was some of the Final Fantasy games, if it was there was some Metal Gear games.
Those actually do really well on mobile.
So I don't know. I enjoyed them. They were pretty intense games. Like I felt like I was playing, but I did play it differently. I would carve out my time differently when I was playing on my PSP.
So it wouldn't be something you would just play. Oh, I have a few minutes on the train, kind of thing.
Maybe with some games like Loco Roco or Patapon.
Oh yeah, but
I see
Guitar Man, or if I was playing like I had what's the game where you crash cars into each other and then they like
Flat Out,
Twisted Metal,
Burnout. I played Burnout, so some of the games really worked with that. But if I was gonna play like Siphon Filter or Metal Gear or this other game that was like this tank game, I'd probably set out time. So it was just different, you know, because the Switch games, I just feel like they're all like that. They're all like Loco Roco and Patapon to me. But like, there's just a different catalog, you know.
And the PSP was really good about standby mode too. Like you could keep that thing on standby forever, even with those graphically intense games. It was an impressive handheld, man.
It was too impressive. It was too ahead of its time.
It really was. How much did those things cost?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, my PSP originally I bought it in high school, working at a amusement park, so it probably was $200 because it took me a while to save up the money.
Well, I guess it was worse.
That's when I was getting paid $5.25 an hour.
And like you can get a Switch for $200 now, can't you?
$250 for the non-OLED Switch.
Yeah, so that was expensive. That was really expensive. Like $200. It took me basically, gosh, I don't know how. It took me a really long time, but I worked a lot of hours. Like child labor laws did not matter, and that was the first thing I bought with my summer money working at Stone Mountain Park.
I remember those days, man. Even though, like, even still, like when you get your first job, though, it's still kind of nice. Like getting a check for $72 after working for 2 weeks still felt really good.
Yo, it felt, especially when we weren't paying no bills. It felt like free money. Let's go, baby. You know? Now I'm like, yo,
I can finally pay my mom for the food she gave me last week.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how people survive. Like,
I don't either.
Bruh, I saw this clip. It's been going around. This girl complaining about she's like, me and my husband make $120,000 a year. That should be plenty. Why are we living paycheck to paycheck? And she's complaining about food prices having gone up. She's like, I was at the store and we spent $70 just on essentials. And everyone's just roasting her because it's like, what else are you, like $70 for food doesn't cover $120,000 a yearly paycheck.
Yeah, that's a person who does not have a budget or doesn't realize that most people don't. Like I spent $70 on this. Bro, when I was super broke, I could buy 18 weeks of food for $70 because I was getting dollar only stuff.
Right.
I wasn't getting what I wanted. I was getting what I needed, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that was her point, which she was like, you know, how can people who make less than us expect to live? You know, it was a nice point, but it really just illustrated their lack of I guess spending control.
Yeah, a little bit of privilege in there. But hey, that's what it is.
Yeah. I ain't mad at them though. Hey, make you $100K. Don't put it on the internet, though. I don't see why people just put too much of their personal information on the internet in general, in my opinion. That's going to be my hot take.
I mean, I think you're right on.
That's a lukewarm
I take that hot take. I take it with you. I've watched some videos where they interview women who are like in college, women, and they ask them like, what's the average, what's the minimum you'll expect from your mate? You know, like salary. $250,000. 500,000. I think that's average. And
I think that's average.
And like you're like, I don't know what. Maybe.
Yeah, if Elon Musk is in, you know, the average is pretty.
They tell
high.
Him the average is like what 40 to 60. You know, for a male in their like late 20s, early 30s. They're like, no, those are all that's not true. And I'm like, I don't know. Clearly, they're clearly interviewing people who've never had any difficulty in their life, so
never had a job.
Exactly. And I'm like, yeah, this might be an unfair you know, description of what women of their age, you know, go somewhere else maybe, because all them girls look like they was doing well, you know, like they ain't never paid for nothing in their life.
So they did, but like, you know, their family is just really well off and they just assumed, oh, we're average. Which I think a lot of people tend to do, is you just assume that your experience is close to average.
Well, when I say they've never paid for anything, I mean they've never worked to get the money.
Right.
to
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
That's probably. Anyway, you had an expensive PSP. You had to carve out time. I feel that gets back to something we talked about previously. We were talking about how, like, as adults, we don't play a lot of games that involve carving out time. We play all these little games that are like, all right, yeah, let's hop on Fortnite for 40 minutes and jump out after. And there's like no commitment. Although even that's the more commitment than I could muster for a portable experience, I think.
I mean, to be super real, back in the day, I used to not be the driver, so I could play a lot more of my Game Boy. You know, I was in the back seat, like you were saying.
Back seat.
Nowadays,
yeah.
The last time I was in the back seat of a car, bro, I don't even know.
Honestly, even when I ride with my parents these days, they got me driving.
I'm driving. Yep, I'm driving my folks.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mentioned airplanes a few times because that's really the only time that I'm transiting that I can play a game. Usually I'm driving. I don't take trains or buses in Atlanta, so
which I don't mind it. I like to drive, but it does highlight a point though that opportunity's gone now.
Yeah, I remember playing Pokemon by the light of passing streetlights on my Game Boy Color.
That's telling your age right there. That's telling your age.
I have a really like a pretty good story about my Game Boy Color.
Is it?
I think so. It's kind of wholesome, in my opinion. I'm gonna tell it anyway, and you decide. So when I was probably like around 10, my family drove to I think it was New Orleans to go to Texas. No, it wasn't Texas Roadhouse. It was Outback Steakhouse with some family that lived out there. And man, when I tell you I had the most killer Game Boy setup, so I had this like black rectangular bag with the strap on it, and then it had a zipper, and when you opened it, it had all these compartments, so you can put your games in the stack, and they had little cases for them. You could put your Game Boy in there.
I think I had that case. I think I had that bag.
And it was like big enough to where if you had the thing you clip on the back to give it the wings to where you can grip it easier.
Yeah.
I had that. It had the light attachment to it. The one with the magnifying glass, not just the light, not just the book light. The one with
the flip out magnifying
you was one
glass.
of them kids. Oh,
bro,
yeah,
I
the
wanted
straight
to
Transformer Game
rob
Boys.
you so hard when I was in school. Like, nah, I had friends on the bus who had it. I'd be like, hey, can I borrow it for a little bit? I just want to play.
Bro, it'll change your life, man. Thought I was something because I had it. But I would bring that thing everywhere. And so, of course, I had it in Outback, and I was sitting in the corner. It was dark. It's always dark in Outback, especially at night. I don't know why you don't turn the lights on in there. But I was okay because I had my magnifying glass. It was lit up over there.
It's just right.
I got distracted by the food. It came out, I probably got me a little burger or something with the fries. And we go to head out, and we heading down the road, and just chatting with my parents, and I realized something. Like, hey, wait a minute. This whole time I haven't been enjoying myself in the land of Pokemon. Where's my Game Boy at? No. So I start rifling around in the back seat. My whole bag, son, was at Outback.
Oh no!
And we've been on the road.
In one place.
Yeah, thankfully. But it was late at night, and we'd been driving probably a solid. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't know for sure. No. But it felt like we were halfway home. And if anybody's familiar with Louisiana, we went and had dinner in New Orleans, but we lived in Slidell, so it's a good
Lord
45-minute hour drive.
Yeah.
And I told my parents, they were like, "You sure you don't have it? Where is it? Check." We would turn on all the lights in the car, while we were on the interstate being super dangerous. And I was like, I don't see it. And I was content. I feel like I was keeping my composure, in the moment. Like, we'll get it next time and I'll figure it out. But no, man, my dad, he got off the next exit and we headed back to Outback that night, man. And we went.
Oh, of course.
We walked to the table we were at, and my bag wasn't there. That's when it hit me. I was like, because at that point I was thinking, if we go back, even if it's tomorrow, my bag will be there. And it wasn't. And I was freaking out. Couldn't find the waitress. Eventually, though, we found her. And my stuff was all safe. Because I actually did pack it up before we left. But then I left it hanging on the back of the chair.
Oh, classic blunder.
Yeah. And so it was at the table. She just walked me over. She was like, well, I didn't grab anything from the table. I haven't even, she didn't clean it off yet. And so I went to where I was sitting, and hanging on the back of the chair, in between the chair and the wall, in the darkest spot of Outback, was my bag. Safe and sound.
Hey, nobody would have stole it. It would have probably been there for like 3 months.
It probably
some other family was there and they ate and didn't even realize.
Yeah. They see it. A gift from the heavens.
That would have been somebody's Christmas gift. You know what's funny? Like I'm thinking from the perspective of your dad, right? He's driving.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I worked today or whatever. I don't know what was going on, but it was a long trip. He just ready to go home. His little big-headed kid left his thing at the the restaurant. And he's like, and he did exactly what I would do. This is how I know I'm old now. It's like, did you check? Turn on the light. Check everything. Like, flip this. Mm-hmm. You're a little kid, so he probably dropped it onto the seat. And I probably wouldn't even understand really what your gaming system was fully because I'm older. And then eventually once he said, I really don't have it, he probably started doing the calculation in his head. He said, man, I don't want to go back. And he's like, how much money is in that little bag? He's like, we got to go back. Like,
yeah, it's definitely worth one trip.
You know what? Like, I bought that for Christmas. I bought him this game. I bought him
multiple Christmases.
It's like in that little bag, and he's like, I mean, of course he did it because he loves you and you're his son, but also he did it for economic reasons. He said,
yeah, there were other reasons.
Basically, you were never going to get anything ever again if that thing was there.
What's your favorite meal at Outback Steakhouse?
The blooming onions.
I honestly don't understand onions like at all.
They have layers, just like ogres.
I don't want to eat ogres either. So
fair enough.
I understand like the smell of them. They smell nice when they're with other stuff, but I don't know. I never feel like I miss onions when they're not a part of something that I knew had onions in it before. And then when they're there, like anything else, it's a different flavor, so I appreciate them. But then it's like it's a lingering smell. It's pretty intense. I don't know. And then onion rings, it's a sweaty onion inside of rocks.
Rocks.
Like they're super crunchy.
What kind of onion rings have you been eating?
Yeah, what kind of? Who's making your onion rings?
Maybe sand.
Golems?
It's crunchy.
It's a ring. It's fried.
This man doesn't eat. Do you not eat crunchy food?
Well, I mean, I guess I feel like the texture is like close to like a mozzarella stick. Yeah, what makes it feel harder is just how slimy the onion is inside.
I will say the biggest downfall of onion rings is that you have to really cleanly cut the onion with your teeth, or you're going to pull the whole thing out and burn your chin.
Burn your chin? That sounds very personal and real.
Am I wrong? Do you not burn your chin if a hot onion slice falls across it?
Probably.
I don't know if I've ever experienced that, but that sounds very honest.
You've never had hot onion chin before?
Girl.
So you don't like the blooming onion, Kyle. What do you like?
They have I know they have the rattlesnake bites at Texas Roadhouse. There's something similar though at Outback where it's kind of like mozzarella sticks, but they're just little orbs and they have jalapenos in them. I don't know what they call them.
Oh, snap.
Those are really fire.
Oh, the jalapeno poppers?
Yeah, that's probably it. Those are really good. But that's, I guess, an appetizer.
I don't know if that's the actual name, but I think that's the name I've heard.
That's what everyone knows them as, probably.
Yeah, that's the layman term for the dish.
The layman term.
I used to be all about the mac and cheese bowl or whatever the pasta was.
Ah.
And then I got older and I got in my head like, oh, these ribs are fire. So I would get the ribs and a loaded baked potato. That was the one meal I always got growing up at Outback Steakhouse.
Their loaded baked potatoes are good. And their loaded mashed potatoes.
So good, dude. I've never had a better baked potato. Well, let me rephrase that. I've probably had better potatoes, but the specific way that they cook the potato so that the outside is salt encrusted.
Yeah.
The only place that was where I learned to eat potato skins. No one else I know will eat the skin of a potato except me.
Because of that. I don't even care if it's encrusted in salty goodness. I'll still eat the skin of a potato.
Now, yeah. Like I'm beyond that, but at the time, that was my my learning moment.
I will say though that they used like the giant, like they're like a centimeter wide cubes of crystallized salt, and if you get a big chunk,
crack your tooth.
Oh, bro, your molar is destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've ever eaten at Outback Steakhouse. Maybe once, maybe twice.
We going.
It used to be like a family tradition.
Yeah, my family, we would eat out like at a restaurant, like maybe a few times a year. Like, and normally it was when my dad got a coupon or a gift card.
You had a big family though, right?
I mean, 2 siblings.
Oh, okay. It's one more sibling.
Mom, dad. So it was just, how it be in these streets. Yeah, I mean, we'd get a coupon and we go to Papados. That was the spot we go to. That was like fancy. Like we living it up. Like my dad be like, look at the gift card, son. My job got me good. And we'd be like eating good.
One day this will all be yours, son.
Yeah, like our birthday.
You see that darkness there? Never go there. That's Waffle House. Let me show
you. Everything that the light touches is a good place to eat.
Everything the blooming onion touches
is yours. But never go to Waffle House. Never.
Yeah,
will burn your chin,
dude. Oh my gosh, you'll never believe. For Christmas, Keisha and I were visiting family, and we did not. We'll just say that it wasn't the type of visit where like people are cooking a home cooked meal Christmas morning.
Okay.
So we found ourselves looking for food, and everywhere was closed.
No.
We found a Denny's that was open, but they were so packed.
Yep.
And like understaffed that people were just like the lobby had like 30 people standing around. It was super weird.
Jeez.
So we just left. They were like, we can't even tell you what the wait is because we don't have enough people to calculate it. So we ended up at Waffle House, and it was fire as always.
Waffle House is consistent, man.
Consistent every time. It's the same.
Everybody says if apocalypse happens, the only restaurant that will survive is Waffle House, and I don't disagree. Like,
yeah,
I think that they have. I mean, I don't know. You can't. I don't know how you create this atmosphere that Waffle House created, where essentially everybody knows people be fighting at Waffle House.
Oh yeah,
and it makes no sense why that's a universal thing. Like every different Waffle House, like. The employees fighting customers, employees fighting each other, people fighting in the parking lot. I'm like, how is this a part of your experience?
Every Waffle House is murder Waffle House.
Every,
So at least it doesn't have the Denny's situation though, where you avoid one Denny's because it's the bad one. Like every Waffle House.
Every Waffle House.
Yeah,
is
that's
the bad
true.
one. It's a bad one.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I've actually never seen a fight firsthand. Every Waffle House I've been to has been great.
Me and Marcus had an experience. There's a Waffle House over near Georgia Tech. And it happened to be right next to a gentleman's club.
Oh,
yeah, I remember that Waffle House.
We went there late at night. We ended up not eating there because it was so wild in there. There was a lot of interesting characters. That's the best way I'm going to put it. And I don't know if it was more of it was like maybe 3 or 4 of us. And we were like, you know what? Let's figure out somewhere else to go because it looks like it's about to pop off in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not a situation I personally want to be in. Like, I'm not interested because you just never know. Like, first of all, I'm not trying to get hit by nobody's food, a straight punch. Like, once I see people about to fight, I'm like, I'm good. I'm gone. Like,
I mean, these days, I've been seeing more. Like, I didn't know until I saw the videos of people fighting in Waffle House. Like, I'd heard the rumors. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've never witnessed it. And Mrs. Yams, she worked at Waffle House for probably close to a year, maybe 2 years.
Oh, she a thug. She's
yeah,
certified. Let's go. Got some hands.
She went straight from Waffle House into the hospitals. So,
so she's seen things for real.
Straight G, for real.
So she can kill you.
She's like, I see dead bodies everywhere.
Everywhere.
I see them in the restaurant. I see them in the hospital.
So this is the true test of portability. How many games can you play at a Waffle House with chairs being thrown over your head and bacon grease collecting on the corner of the table?
Real talk. Like, when I was growing up, like, I could bring my Game Boy pretty much most places. Like, it was like my prized possession. So it was close to my heart. But there'd be times where, like, my folks would be like, you can't bring that. Like, they're like, you're not bringing that with us because we're not willing to let you lose this. You know, like, and just trust, you're never getting another one. Like, we are not buying you another one. And luckily, I trust my parents in certain circumstances when they tell me that, because normally it would be like, oh, we're going to an amusement park, or we're going somewhere where it's like, where are you going to really keep this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I want to bring it because it's my Game Boy.
And you're going to be around people. Somebody will swipe it at an amusement park.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone. When I was in high school, somebody stole my TI-89 out of my locker. Out of my locker. I put it in my locker.
How'd they get in your locker?
Check this out. I put it in my locker. I walked down the hallway, like, took a corner. I said, oh, I forgot to lock my locker. I walked back, and my TI-89 is already gone.
Gone. They were watching.
Calculator.
Incredible.
People steal calculators in these streets.
Did you have Mario on it? That's the real question.
Yeah, Dumo.
No, it was the school. The school gave us the calculator, so we had to pay the school back. My parents were so angry.
Oh, bro, and those things were expensive. They cost as much as a PSP.
Yeah, they were like $100+, and it was stolen on like day 2 of me owning it.
Oh,
terrible.
And they didn't give you insurance plans. Nothing.
No, there was a racket. There was somebody selling calculators on the low somewhere.
Flipping them boys. I ain't mad at them.
I miss my calculator
at the barbershop.
I remember. I mean,
I need a calculator.
I remember when people were like complaining about calculators. They're like, "Oh, I can't. You got to learn how to do this math without this calculator." I'm like, "Yeah, of course, but I'm still going to use it on the quiz because it's easier, dude."
Yeah.
Like, for real, when in what real life scenario will I ever be multiplying, dividing, adding, or subtracting
and
really
only
large
have paper
numbers
on hand
in like a dire situation, right? Where I don't have a moment to write it down if I need to do long division. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going to be doing something where I'm doing 1,035 times 632, you best believe what? Like, what?
The only place I've ever seen it is when the bad guys kidnap the scientist guy and bring him into the dark warehouse, and all that's in there is a chalkboard, and they're like, we need to get the launch codes or something, and so he's got to write a bunch of numbers. That's the only time I've ever seen somebody need all those formulas in a life-saving scenario.
In their brain. And that person is already certified, right?
Already.
They're like a scientist.
He's well known.
I do think that a lot of math, if you do like higher level math, can't really be done on a calculator just because the interface is not really appropriate for it.
But you do it in your head?
But you do what you do is you write out the complex parts and you pull out the parts that can be done in a calculator, and you go ahead and do those on the calculator, and then you just write it down and continue in your life.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I continue with my life before I even encounter the math.
This man continued all the way past advanced math and got an art degree.
But I do want to say this.
Yes, sir.
I think it's super random that we got on this TI-89 tip, because mobile portable gaming, you mentioned it, Steve, 100%. There was a period of time in my life where the TI-89 was a part of that equation, because there's a kid, this kid who he basically would go around and he had a cord.
He was the broker.
He was the broker, and he would give you, there's a drug game where you sold like crack and cocaine.
No way. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it was like it was basically like a game where you would like, it was like you were playing the market. Like you were trying to gamble out. Like,
it's a business game.
Yeah. Like
you're like learning games.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I want to buy 50 kilos of cocaine because hopefully it'll sell cheaper next week and blah, blah, blah.
So you were learning on the side. That's good.
Look, Mom, I'm a drug lord.
What an on the nose like illegal secret game to have for your calculator. Like, oh, I'm gonna
not even subtle.
Let me not even play like Mario, like I suggested. Let's play a crack cocaine game where you're a drug dealer. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
and it updates
Drug Wars. It was, but the game that everybody really wanted was not. I can't remember what it was called. I wish I could find it because it was so fun. It was like a Galaga type game.
Yeah,
like a shooter, a space shooter where you had a ship and you get different weapons and you kill enemies and get upgrades. It was so awesome.
Yeah, those games are great. Now that sounds like an excellent portable game experience.
Yeah, games where you weren't supposed to have them were some of the best games. Because they have to get like really...
That's not what I meant, but that's a good point. It's the illicit experience
contraband
really adds to this.
The contraband. But the thing was that hurt the most is that, and it's not because of the games. It was because people had programs that would help you like do what do you call it?
Oh yeah. Cheating.
Basically cheating. Yeah, an exam.
Yeah.
What they do is they force you to clear your calculator.
Yeah.
Before an exam, so you'd have to find somebody, your plug, literal plug,
reinstall,
plug you in, and get you the game again. So sometimes you just wouldn't even bring a calculator, or you borrow it from somebody else who didn't have a game on it.
Man,
I got so good at resetting my memory. Like I could just do it instantly because I learned the key presses because they had us do it all the time. I wonder if I could still do it now.
It's probably in there. Somebody bring this man a calculator.
I bet that my calculator, wherever it is, in a drawer somewhere, I bet that the batteries have exploded and destroyed it by now.
There's a strong chance that may have happened.
I keep finding exploded batteries in all my old toys, like not toys, but all my old devices and stuff, like my Game Boy. I still have my Game Boy Color. I think I have it here in the room somewhere.
Max corrosion. That's what you're saying. Max corrosion.
Ooh, that sounds like a movie title.
Oh, it sounds like a game title.
Or, the hero.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, boys?
My name is Max. Max Corrosion.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, no.
It's a game where it's a platformer, but when you jump on the platforms, they degrade. And so you have to like avoid the pitfalls that it generates, but also use it to your advantage.
See, what you're thinking of is an indie game. If it was a AAA game, it'd be called Max Corrosion. But what it would be about is like this like political intrigue, like spy game, where the corrosion of trust between different institutions and The Last of Us. If it was a AAA game, but if it's an indie game, it'd be something cool like that.
And if it was a mobile game, it'd just be about taking batteries out of various things. And then you wipe it down with a little brush.
And the ad would be like you just see some weird girl with like mud all over her face, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna starve if you don't throw batteries in my mouth. Like it would just be the weirdest ad ever in the game.
And then you see it. You don't hear about the game until it's shown at a Nintendo Direct for being ported from mobile to Switch. That's the life cycle of these games. Dude, speaking of us making indie games, Kyle.
Yes.
I saw a game. It's in the Ukraine or the bundle for Ukraine on itch.io. So I own it.
I own it too.
Then you own it too. Look up Spear. With 2 E's. I'm pretty sure somebody made our Farmer Steve game.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a game. I saw the demo. It's a game where you have a spear and you can throw it into walls and like jump off the spear.
No.
Yeah.
That was the hook. That was the mechanic.
That was the hook. We could still make it, but we have to add to it somehow.
Man. Oh, so SPEER?
I think so, yeah. I was just kind of going through some of the games when I made that list a few weeks ago, and I don't know why I clicked that link, and I was like, oh no, it looks like our game. But I saved it, so I might download it and play through it at some point.
Maybe that'll be the next game I stream if I ever stream again.
if you ever stream again. When are we going to play together for lunch?
Oh, like Fortnite?
Sure. Or stream for lunch. But yeah, when are we going to play together? We had talked, for anyone who doesn't know this, for the last like month or two, we had played a lot over our lunch breaks. We would coordinate our lunch breaks and play together. And that worked really well. But I recently changed teams, so now my lunch break is more constrained. And I think Kyle also had something come up.
And the holidays kind of came through. A lot of big things.
Yeah. But yeah, the holidays came and we weren't playing, and we just haven't gotten back to it since then. I think it became more difficult. Are we done playing Fortnite?
You bring up an interesting thing. I guess this is a place where if I was like traveling, then a handheld would be good. But there really isn't any. I haven't been gaming much at all since I've been so busy. Yeah, so
I always make time.
You're better than me.
I mean, that's real.
I knew that, but
I still haven't touched God of War.
I haven't either, actually.
That's the game I've been thinking about the most because, yeah, I've played a couple hours of it, and I really want to finish it before I keep forgetting what happened.
Oof. Part of me, so all right, I just finished Black Mesa. I finished Hollow Knight again properly, which I'm going to talk about until the world ends probably because I love that game. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to play next on PC because in my head my gaming is segmented into different types and different genres and based on PC. I was thinking of like kind of a chill puzzler called the Swapper that I saw my friend play back in high school, and I bought it and never played it. But I will soon, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully I'll eventually finish Final Fantasy on PlayStation, and at that point I'm going to have to consider what I play next. And I don't know. Will it be Ragnarok? Will it be Elden Ring? Will it be...
You have Elden Ring?
No, I had to buy it.
Oh.
Elden Ring will forever be a dream for all of us to play.
I think so.
You know.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Maybe I'll buy the new Dead Space game. I never got to play Dead Space back in the day.
Is that game out yet?
I think Dead Space 2 did come out.
Yeah, it is. It is because I have friends, some of the listeners here actually, who were like, it was the middle of the work week. It was last week. It came out, and they were like, "Oh, I can't wait till the sun sets. I'm going to play this game." Like they were so. I'm assuming it's a fantastic game.
Okay, I didn't know it was out already. I've been seeing it. Well, I was going to ask, what do you think would be the worst game to play on a mobile or a portable experience?
So I think Dead Space would be high because it doesn't meet any of the requirements. Like it's a game that requires at least some amount of fine control because you're fighting for your life against monsters and solving puzzles and stuff. It's a game that feels like it probably needs slightly longer play sessions to enjoy. It's a game that but it has like it relies a lot on atmosphere. It's a horror game, and so you want to play in the dark, you want to play with the sound up, you want to play like, I don't want any of those things. You want to be immersed because it's an immersion game. And yeah, playing that on the Switch or like, on an airplane, I would never do it. 100% never do that. Maybe that's how you should play it, Kyle.
It is dark on airplanes. Like,
okay, fair. That's true.
Just
if you fly at night,
lift the window shade.
No, I don't want any of those things. I don't want to be immersed in a frightening experience. I want to be as disconnected from it as I possibly can while I play.
Do you do escape rooms?
Yes, I love escape rooms.
Would you ever do like a horror escape room?
I think I did one on accident before.
Were you with us? Didn't we do like a Halloween escape room?
Yeah, we went to the 13th gate.
No, we did the Egyptian one.
The Anubis. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the horror one separately with another group of people. But yeah, you were there. We did the Anubis. That was, I wouldn't say that wasn't very scary.
It had its moments. Spooky. It had like jump scares in it.
Yeah, some spooky moments.
The
Which one, the
voice.
Egyptian one?
Yeah. It was mostly just atmosphere. It didn't really have.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric for sure.
Yeah.
And I do like.
If you've watched The Mummy, it was good.
Ironically, I do like, or I guess maybe out of uncharacteristically, I do appreciate haunted houses too. Like I've walked through.
That is uncharacteristic.
I've walked through the 13th Gate a handful of times with some friends, but I more enjoy, I guess, the aesthetic because I knew people that worked on it, and so I appreciated just how convincing.
Like looking at the costumes,
it is.
The makeup.
People are popping out with chainsaws. Oh, look at how realistic that chainsaw is! Wow,
nice.
Did Timothy do that?
You're like calling them by their first name. Good job, Jonathan.
Good job, Jonathan.
Stop it.
Jonathan's
I see
like,
you,
bro,
Lily. I see you. Just ruined the whole experience for everybody.
Yeah, for me, it's Dead Space. There's plenty of games, but that's just what comes to mind first.
I think for me, it would be any game with a highly cinematic, like cutscenes, like
God of
War, or Metal Gear, or just any game that has like heavy and long, like cutscenes where you're just supposed to like watch. Because to me, like any portable device is not where I want to watch something.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to watch something, it's because I have no other choice, you know? So I think any game where a Kojima game, if there's a 30-minute cutscene, I'd be so mad.
You're just watching a movie on a tiny screen
on the Switch.
I feel like Death Stranding, speaking of Kojima, would be interesting on the Switch because it's a lot of walking, and as long as you can kind of keep in your head what your goal is, it wouldn't be that bad in like really small bite-sized chunks. But then you just have these ridiculous cutscenes that are like 10, 15 minutes long, which I guess wouldn't fly that well.
For me, a game I wouldn't want to play on mobile would be anything in the same realm as Monster Hunter. So something with tons of terrible UI.
Oh, God.
Tiny words all over the screen.
Real. That's real.
Otherwise, I'm fine.
We didn't talk about UI. That's actually a big deal. Yeah, some games are just not made. And actually, that's a common complaint I hear about games is when you're playing some games on Switch that playing in handheld is almost impossible because the UI is so small.
Yeah. And for those, I guess, who don't know what it stands for, UI is user interface.
Yeah, so like the text in the menus might be like unreadable because they weren't building it with the Switch's screen in mind.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Switch games, I've played games with a lot of text and UI elements, but I think that's also because like Switch games are also designed to be on a big screen. So, and the screen is pretty decently sized, like in mobile. I mean, in handheld mode.
Yeah.
So
it's fine.
It seems like it could get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, for sure. I'm saying some games specifically don't work well because like the font is too small. And so like it works okay on the TV, but it's not great on a smaller screen.
Yeah, I think as far as the Switch and Nintendo in general is concerned, it probably wouldn't be as big of a deal for them if they cared at all about accessibility. Because in most games, you can change the size of user interface. But in most Nintendo games, you can't adjust anything.
I wasn't really thinking about Nintendo games, but yeah.
Oh, you know what other type of game I would hate to be on like handheld? But I know they kind of sort of exist. I just don't like the idea of doing any motion controls. And it's like, I don't want to have to tilt and also like try to hold and maintain view on this. And
you're tilting the whole screen at that point.
Yeah, the whole screen.
That's the reason, yeah.
So it's like, please don't tell me to do, what's that, Dance Central or whatever it's called. What's
Just
Dance?
Just
on
Dance.
The Switch and handheld.
Dance Central.
You got to bring your mat with you on the plane.
You know, like, don't do this.
Yeah. I will say I didn't mention that earlier because that's a very like specific to Nintendo thing. But yeah, motion controls suck, handheld mode. For something like Zelda, where it's like it was small to begin with, and you don't spend the whole time with gyro on anyway, it's fine. But I tried playing Splatoon recently handheld. Bro.
Bad?
It's so bad.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. It's great. I love it on TV with a controller in my hand. But yeah, there's way too much jerking around trying to I'm like moving my whole body to continue to keep the viewport of the screen like level with my eyes. It's not a good experience. And you can't. It's absolutely impossible on anywhere where you're moving. So in a car, on a plane, it'll screw up the motion controls because it thinks it's accelerating. So yeah, it's not good.
This man over here playing a game as the airplane's taking off. It's like it just shoots off, and the game just new levels of gangster. It's like,
no. The flight attendant is like, please put away your device, sir.
It's like, but I'm playing Splatoon.
The way I operate in an airplane is I always try to sit up straight and use my core to balance during takeoff. So that's like a little fun exercise. And then I fall asleep for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then I do whatever I'm going to do.
No. This is what's really happening. He tries to fight the G-forces. He bangs his head against the wall, and he passes out. 15 minutes later, like, that was
Next thing I know, the flight's halfway over. I'm like, wow, I'm so well rested.
Great experience. No, one time I was on a flight, and this dude had like a giant laptop, and he was like doing, he had a suit on, so he probably thought he was important. And he's like going at it, right? And we're
Excel
about to,
spreadsheets or something.
Yeah, like we're about to land, and so the attendee, or what do you call it, the attendant comes up and goes, flight attendant's like, hey, can you close the laptop? I'm gonna say, okay, yes, yeah, I'll do that. Absolutely just lies to her face. So she goes down, and then he's like still going, and like, but we're like getting, ready, you hear the gear come out and all that stuff, and he's still going at it. Flight attendant just happens to be going back, and she's like, can you close that, please, sir? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'm almost done. And she's like, no, sir. Put that in your bag now. Like, she just turned on to, like, I'm going to fight you in these streets. And he went from, I'm the most important man to, please don't hurt me, mama. Like, he slid that junk in the bag. But I was like, come on, bro. Like, your job is not that important. Chill out. Like, for 5 minutes.
You don't even have Wi-Fi here. Like,
like,
it's not time urgent.
I don't know. Some people be walking straight off the plane into a meeting. So, dude was probably pressed for time because he did poor time management beforehand.
Exactly.
You might be right about that.
That's not you, bro. You're doing too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
It'd be like that for real, though.
The real question is, do you prefer to game portably or sleep? that's the true game
on
paradise.
On a plane or just in life?
Sure, on a plane.
Sleep.
Wherever you have the choice to play a game portably.
Sleep.
While you're traveling.
I'll say sleep.
In general,
I've been reading more recently.
I don't sleep well on planes.
Oh, dude, they knock me out. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Was that
like a lullaby?
I used to sleep very well in vehicles, but it just didn't get
I think it also has to be that most of my flights are at terrible times. So they're like either super early or super late at night. So it's kind of like I might as well get the sleep in because I'm not going to get it otherwise, So I'm going to select that, over playing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll start playing a game and then I start to feel it and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to fight this. I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm super tired, it doesn't really matter where I am.
So it sounds like portable gaming is overrated based on this conversation. Like, the games we want to play aren't even on Switch. They're just mobile games. And we would rather just go to sleep than play them.
When I was a kid, it was fundamental. But I think in adulthood, it's not feasible, mostly. It's not that I don't want to. It's I really just can't.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think it goes back to the conversation we have a lot. It's like, when you get older, even think, like, I want to play God of War, but God of War is an actual, not that it's a job, but it takes effort. It's work.
It's an investment.
But as a kid, it's like I had all the energy and also I was never doing anything I ever wanted to do, so this was like my one space where I could do whatever I wanted. I could play Toy Story on the Game Boy, you know.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea. Like, I want to enjoy portable gaming. I want to pull my Switch out and like get into something, but yeah, it's just there aren't. Well, maybe it's because I haven't really been playing with my Switch anyway, so it isn't like. Because if there's a game I'm playing, like I'm in the middle of it and I'm just like super invested, then yeah, I'll definitely play that any chance I get, portable or not, good experience or bad. Like, I'll try to play it on the plane or whatever. But if there's not, then I'm probably not gonna really enjoy. Like, I'm like looking for a game, like what can I get into, and there's just nothing stands out.
I'm gonna say this. I don't believe this. I'm saying it, but I don't believe it.
Okay.
I feel like the future of mobile gaming is like mobile VR games, and like if they ever got a situation where you could have a truly like mobile VR experience that was like portable and not like a lot, I think that might interest me. But at the same time, I don't think I'd be interested in doing it. But I'm like, it'd be cool to just like pop on my VR thing on the plane and play some game, But the metaverse is dead because basically all the big tech companies fired all their metaverse people. So I guess I'd have to.
Well, hopefully it's not dead. I did see that.
He just invested.
Crypto.
Buy the dip, boys. Buy the dip. I did see that. Well, yeah. First of all, I did see that a bunch of people fired their meta teams, but
Wild.
at the same time, a new open source foundation was just formed of several companies that are like trying to form an open source metaverse. Which I'm like, thank God. Like, if it's got to happen, let it not be Facebook,
Right.
please.
Not Zuck.
Not Zuck.
I haven't heard anything about the metaverse in a really long time. Most of
It's
the
just people being disappointed.
yeah, I mean, most of the most recent VR stuff I've seen is VR cringe compilation.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's people videoing other people in VR.
Huh.
And I guess now that the Quest 2 or whatever the most recent, very affordable headset is, people are getting those, and they're doing some really wacky stuff, and their friends are videotaping them. So I think until we move past that, where people don't feel so self-conscious about, going somewhere, as far as like the mobile VR, I think we'll have to get past that to where it's accepted to just put on your headset and be disconnected from everyone around you and be doing weird stuff.
Well, what if it was like less immersive, but more of like glasses? Like you could play poker.
AR?
Yeah, kind of an AR experience, but it's like with your sunglasses, where it's like using eye tracking. So you could play like poker with your friends using your glasses. That look like sunglasses,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that'd be the future.
Yeah. I feel like
I would
Glass.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Google Glass had.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like
display.
It would be Google Glass version 9000, but yeah.
Sure,
A good version of Google Glass.
I would be into if I could just have like a headset that wasn't obtrusive, like glasses, and a controller, even the size of like a Switch Pro controller. I would play games like that. If the display was good.
Oh, so you're saying that the display would be the glasses, but the interface would be the controller, like a standard controller.
Yeah, I mean, it could also utilize eye tracking or whatever, but I don't think you can play a game with just that.
You can do that
Not a fun game.
PSVR. You can play any game that you own in there. Yeah, it kind of just puts you in the. I mean, I guess it'd probably be better if it did like support VR to where the experience was noticeably different because you have the headset on. In general, you can do something very similar.
Well,
to that.
no. I would want just a virtual screen with a game in front of me. I don't want to necessarily.
Be virtual
if I'm sitting
reality.
somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, VR is cool, like in a room where that's what you're doing. But if I'm traveling, and I have to, and I'm like sitting down somewhere, like I don't have space. I want to just have a
So
screen.
more of a projection. Like the
Yes.
means would just be Google Glasses, so you play
Yes.
controller would just sync with the glasses.
In that
I
case,
think that'd be cool.
even the Oculus Go is really good about that. Because you can sync controllers to those, and then they put you in these virtual spaces you can set up. It's very limited in the Go, but yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine with it. In that case, the only problem would be battery life and
Form factor.
The form factor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think even if they're kind of big glasses that were just like, it was just a 2D representation, not a 3D. You know, like you said, you're like looking at a TV, but it's like on your glasses. That'd be pretty cool. I'm surprised that doesn't exist in some capacity.
That'd be a better experience in some games.
Somebody built it. It's just not mainstream.
But I guess it would just be different. Huh. Yeah, where would I guess chips are so small now and powerful. You could probably get away with it.
You know what else this discussion makes me think is that maybe, I mean, obviously it works for a lot of people, but I kind of feel like maybe Nintendo doesn't need to like really stick with this hybrid situation. Like maybe I would want to build a little mini computer that emulates a Switch and run it. It would be the size of maybe like the combined Switch and dock. Like, wouldn't that be cool if I could just carry, because I have to carry that stuff around anyway if I'm going to like travel for a LAN party or something. I could just, have this maybe this cubic foot gaming system that has an HDMI port and a power port and some controllers synced up to it, and I could play Switch games like that. That'd be kind of cool. Probably have similar.
Wait, like a Steam box?
Yeah, but specifically for emulating Switch games, I'm saying that you own legally.
Yeah.
Nintendo has entered the chat.
But I mean, like, but you could have a more what I'm getting at is you could have a more powerful system if you didn't need to include a screen, didn't need to include a battery, didn't need to include controllers.
But it would need to connect to a screen, right?
Yeah, I said HDMI port.
So it would only be usable it'd be a console.
It'd be a console, but it's a small console. It isn't like a PlayStation 5 where you have to like got a whole like rolling bag to carry it. But what's something you could put in my backpack like I can do with my Switch now?
What? Like, I'm trying to figure out why anybody would ever want that though.
Well, because I would want it because my two main uses. I do use it portably sometimes, but my two main uses for the Switch are at home on the TV or at somebody else's home on a TV. And I like to travel with it. I carry it, when I go on like work trips or when I'm traveling. Yeah, like a GameCube, like a modern power GameCube. That'd be great.
I understand, I guess, the aesthetics around consoles and wanting to be a showpiece, but it wouldn't bother me at all if the PS5 was the same size as the Ouya. Like, if it was just a little cube.
I don't know how big though. Oh, okay, a little cube.
Yeah, Ouya was like, it wasn't that much bigger than like a Rubik's Cube. It was tiny, but
yeah.
Well, that's because the Ouya was an empty shell with a really cheap Android chipset in it.
I opened up the PS5. It doesn't have to be as big as it is. I know it can't be that small, but
I think the reason the PS5 is that large, a lot of it has to do with thermodynamics. It's getting the heat out of there less than anything else. So
that's true.
Which is proportional to power. So like the Switch doesn't need that much power. Maybe a little bit more power, but you could get away with a lot smaller than a PS5 if you ditch the power of the PS5.
I think the only reason why I don't think that's a good idea is the same reason why I don't think they ever made the Steam Deck. Is because you'd be competing with the PS5 and the Xbox, whatever, Series 12 or whatever.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't think they're going to win that fight. I think that Nintendo is smart to keep this weird hybrid situation because it's kind of like, I have a PS5 and a Switch, and I have an Xbox and a Switch.
They're in a niche.
Yeah, they're in a good place where they're basically not competing with anybody,
You're right. I think it makes more sense for me to say, for my money, that's the device I want. But you are right that there's no way Nintendo will do that because you're right. They probably should not do that.
You could probably get somebody to make you that custom box like that. Just do it on the low so Nintendo never knows.
Yeah. You don't sell it. You don't sell it.
Come on, where's the other person?
Do it for yourself.
Yeah, you could definitely do
or for your friends.
There's some YouTube channels. Their whole thing is just to shrink devices. sure there's somebody who's already done
person
it.
was
I've seen, like the other day on my recommended, somebody stuffed a Wii into a Game Boy.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I saw that video. That's insane. That's the true portable experience. Although I feel like Wii games do not portable well.
Motion controls on a Game Boy do not sound fun.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Did you still have to use the waggle controller?
No, not
I mean, a lot of games are built in. I'm sure it had like a normal Game Boy control scheme, but the games themselves don't.
Yeah, they need a Wiimote, right?
Yeah, they need a Wiimote, or at best a GameCube controller.
Just put the gyro inside. Swing your
Just
Game
do
Boy.
what you do with a Switch.
Oh
Just
my
waggle
goodness.
the whole.
Just slang that thing around.
It comes with
In
the
that
wrist
case,
strap.
the Switch is better because the form factor is a little longer. It's easier to waggle.
That's true. You gotta have that distance for the waggle.
I mean, if they ever get gaming contacts or direct plugs into your cerebrum through your spinal cord,
Yeah.
that just display them on your actual retinas, the game,
Mm-hmm.
that's the future to portable gaming.
It is.
Yeah. At that point, you can just put me in a pod and put a tube in me because I'll just
Real talk.
finish my life.
They prove that type of gaming, this is just gaming, or interface with computers is possible. And they show it's safe, that it's, just like as safe as a cell phone or
Really?
PS5. If they prove
How
that.
did they show that? It
Oh,
was
if
safe?
they prove it. Okay.
This is me
Oh,
theoretically.
Oh, I thought you said they did. Prove
Yeah.
it. I'm like,
No.
word?
If they did that, would you be willing to install a port on the back of your neck? If it was completely safe and it wouldn't affect your life, health, anything, would you be willing to put a port on the back of your head so you could have like gaming in your brain?
I think I draw the
Probably-
line at invasive surgery. I would get the peripheral version.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say probably not because even if it's safe, a direct, input into your brain is something that could be very easy to abuse. Maybe not by the games, but by literally anyone else, governments, criminals.
Somebody just
the
put
mob.
a taser. I mean, it's already bad enough to put a taser to the back of your neck. So if you got like a
Yeah.
little device back there,
A conductor.
yeah.
So there's that. The other thing that would stop me is I don't want it's me. It would have to be open source. It would have to be something that isn't controlled by any corporation, or it would have to be something that's like open standards.
Exactly.
I know exactly what it is. I know how to upgrade it. I can take it to a shop somewhere and have them fix it. That isn't like owned by Apple, right?
Would you, Brad?
Absolutely not. But I think it's interesting to me because it's like that could be the future, right? Like, and there's movies about this, like people not adopting technology and they get, left behind.
Ostracized.
And I think about that sometimes, like, what's the limit that I'd be willing to go to interface with technology?
Mm-hmm.
And what if it was solely for gaming, right? Like, I'm not an early adopter of anything for the most part, but I will early adopt on a gaming system. You know what I'm saying? I will early adopt on entertainment that I like, but like
Not that.
if
That's new.
Imagine, I just keep thinking like, what if it's really like, how the, Kyle, because you have VR, but it's like the difference in experience between playing a VR game and playing a PlayStation 5 game, it's very different. The sensation is completely different.
Very different.
Like, now imagine a game that's like the next level from VR. And the only way you could experience it is to take this elective surgery, which is completely safe, proven all the stuff. And
I can't lie that it wouldn't be tempting.
Did you guys hear that just now?
what?
I don't know if it came through on my mic. I'm pretty sure that my wife is playing Little Nightmares in the other room. I just heard her squeal.
Oh, no.
I have to enhance that audio.
Zoom, enhance.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop laughing.
I feel like if we ever got to where contacts are being used in the virtual augmented reality sense, that at first it'd be a similar situation as when Bluetooth headphones were starting to because like people would just walk up and be talking, and people would think they were talking to them.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people would think, "Oh, you're looking at me," or or something. But like, no, there's somewhere completely different, looking at different stuff.
So what's the
that'd
boundary?
Be funny.
So what's the boundary for you from if gaming? Would you allow them to, I don't know, put like, oh, we don't. It's not an invasive surgery, but what you do is when you put the headset on, it actually interacts with your brain through electromagnetic blah blah blah. They figure out some theory that works, but it's not invasive, but it does basically hijack your brain to show games like in real life. You know, would you?
I mean,
be willing to do that?
I'd be willing to do that. I guess my fear is that it can be used against me, but I guess in that, if it exists, then I don't have a choice of it being used against me if it's not invasive.
I don't know.
You could always take it off.
Well, I mean, if someone like straps me down and is like interrogating me for something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess that's
it's weird.
For me,
worst case scenario stuff.
For me, that kind of taps into, I guess, next level immersion, where it's still external in a lot of ways. So like sound is the most common one we have now. There are things that people are experimenting with, you know, as far as haptics, and then smell-o-vision and making smell. So I think it would be in the same line as those things. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably be more open to trust it because it is still external.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's how our brain interprets their environment, right? Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. I personally would still feel some type of way about that because,
for sure, I'm
like, but at the same time, you know, that's what VR does. It kind of hijacks your brain a little bit, you know.
I'm just always leery if you got to explain it to me, you know, then you got me suspicious at that point. Like people don't explain, like, I mean, I guess they explain controllers somewhat, but it's usually what the controller's doing. Like, oh, it rumbles more, or it has the adaptive triggers, so it resists you. But if you're explaining something, oh yeah, I'm sending electromagnetic waves into your brain, yeah, that hits a little bit different.
I think what I would really feel safe about is something that doesn't directly stimulate my brain, but instead stimulates my senses. So
like 5 gum.
Like 5, or maybe something that like hijacks my optic nerve or my ear, whatever nerve. And so like it tricks my eyes into sending the signal instead of directly signaling my brain. Because that way I feel like I know what I'm getting into. Like, oh, it's just visual information. It's just auditory information. It's not
trickery.
Yeah, it's not going to do anything directly to my cerebrum. Although I wouldn't want to lose my eyes or ears either, so I would still be careful.
Good on you.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well,
and at that point, if you're only stimulating eyes and ears, are you really getting anything more special than just a nice VR headset? I guess the form factor.
I mean, people say the same thing from, well, what's the difference between VR and just playing it on your TV? It's the experience. Like, it's just different.
That's true.
It's just different. You can't. It's hard to explain to somebody the difference between VR, and they have to experience it. It's just.
Yeah, it's one of the things you just got to do.
All right, fair enough.
Well, that's the future of portable gaming. I'm telling you.
I mean, there's nothing more portable than something being in your brain.
Yeah. Instead of handheld, it would be called headheld.
Mm.
You know?
No, it won't. I'm calling it. I'm calling it now. It's not going to happen.
Not catch on.
Brain held.
Stop making fetch happen.
Stop making fetch. Welcome waves. To Head Held Technology with Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Keighley, and Mark Zuckerberg. We failed on
Jeff
the metaverse.
Keighley Jr.
Now, if Peter Molyneux said that he made...
Oh, I would trust... Peter Molyneux like, we have the best research scientists to guarantee that it won't kill you. 100% it's going to kill you.
Everybody
trust. It's about to be a horror movie.
Like, oh, where's that research scientist now? Oh, he dead.
He's dead. How? He used the technology?
He's researching the afterlife. That's what you say.
He used the technology to research the afterlife. Oh, really? That's the way to spin that, Peter Molyneux.
We're still waiting for
his findings. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and wind it down. I think we have thoroughly explored the topic at hand. We've explored a couple other topics. We've bickered and bantered. Thank you for joining us, or for joining me on this adventure, just boys. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
I'm talking to you, so you're joining me.
Okay.
Yeah. Pronouns. But yeah, thanks for joining me. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you as well, dear listeners, for or if you're on YouTube, dear watchers, or if you're on YouTube, dear watching but not really paying attention, mostly just listeners. Yeah, we're glad to bring this content to you. We're glad to clue you in to our inner thoughts and desires and hopes and dreams and fears. And look forward to Farmer Steve, the sequel to Spear
Part 2.
But yeah, shout out to the Super Agile Nation. Shout out to all our listeners and our fans. Thank you for your support. Thank you for coming through and telling us what you like or don't like and giving us feedback and just being buds. We enjoy it. And if you are new to the podcast, welcome. Hello. We are everywhere that you might expect a podcast to be. We are on Google Podcasts, we're on Stitcher, we're on YouTube and SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts and
Brainwaves.
Did I miss anything?
Metaverse.
SoundCloud? Did I say SoundCloud?
I think you said SoundCloud.
What is Kyle saying? I keep talking over him.
I'm just saying stuff.
It's not important.
It's not.
Talk over.
Oh,
Ignore
we everywhere.
Blah,
As
blah,
the
blah.
commercial used to say, they're everywhere. Find us there. And until next time, thanks for listening. This has been the Super Agile Bros Podcast.
You don't want a Game Boy. You want a Head Boy.
No.